Dear students, hello, Ms. Khan here. I will be your instructor for medical terminology. So today we will be talking about the basic elements of the medical word. As healthcare providers, we use tons of medical terminology, and oftentimes it can get rather overwhelming. So today we'll try to just break them down into some components. Let's try to see if we can make it a little bit easier for you. So are you ready to get started? So medical terminology are composed of some different parts. So the basic part is called word root. It actually carries the main meaning of the word. Combining form is a vowel. Vowel, it could be an A, I, E, or O. It doesn't really have any meaning to it, but we utilize it just to make sure that we can combine different parts of the medical terminology and it becomes easier for us just to pronounce it. Suffix is the part of medical terminology that is usually at the end of a medical word. It usually comes after word root. We do not usually have, actually suffix is a very important part of the medical terminology, and it is readily found in medical terminology. Prefix, on the other hand, is not readily found. We may not necessarily have a prefix on medical terminology words. So as we move forward, things will make more sense to you. So let's go and see what we have. We're going to go into those words one by one. So word root is the foundation of the word. Like I said, it contains the main meaning, and most of the times it's in Latin or Greek language. Most of the times there has to be at least one word root in the medical terminology. Some of the medical words that are derived from English or French, they have heart or blood, they may not have a word root. So examples of the word root would be hepat in hepatitis, which means liver, tonsils in tonsillectomy, gaster and gastroma, and larynx and laryngitis. So let me just explain to you a little bit what's going on here. So see, this is your word root here. And then remember how we talked about the combining form? That's a vowel that I told you that we use it sometimes to combine the words. And then we talked about suffixes that are at the end of the medical terminology. So those suffixes are, you can see actomy, like removal of tonsils, itis, that is inflammation of liver, oma, that would be like a tumor of stomach, laryngitis would be larynx, that would be the inflammation of larynx. So these are all suffixes. Suffixes are usually a very important part of medical terminology. They can explain a condition, a pathology, a diagnostic procedure, and such. So we will go over it in more detail. So combining form, just like I said, it's created when a word root is combined with a vowel, and it could be usually an O or I and E. So what it does is it makes it easier for us to pronounce a medical terminology word. It doesn't have any meaning on its own. So example would be memo, O in mammogram, psycho in psychology, laryngeal, O in laryngospasm, and hepatomegaly. So I hope it makes more sense. We tend to like O's more than other combining forms and vowels, huh? O is more fun. Suffix, just like I said, suffix is a very important part of medical terminology. It can denote pathology or diagnostic procedure or a condition, symptoms. So it can actually change the entire meaning of the medical terminology, and we will see in the next couple of slides here. So let's look at those examples. Like ectomy and appendectomy means removal of appendix. But if you use the suffix of itis with appendix, it means inflammation of appendix. So look at the difference between these two words. The suffix, how it changed the meaning. Ectomy is removal of appendix, and itis is inflammation of appendix. Oma is tumor, and again, craniotomy would be the removal of cranium or partial opening of cranium. Gastroscope would be a diagnostic procedure where they put a camera in and then they visualize the stomach. And gastroma, on the other hand, would be the tumor of the stomach. So you can see how these suffixes, they completely change the meaning of a terminology, even though our word roots are the same, and so are our combining forms, but just the suffixes by themselves, they change the meaning of entire medical terminology. So are you guys warming up? I think things are making more sense, right? Don't you worry, you will be doing a lot of reading in your textbook, and there's homework in your medical language lab. So you'll be doing a lot of practice. It actually becomes more fun. And when you start talking in medical terminology, you feel so good. And you'll feel much better. So don't worry. Prefixes, on the other hand, they're not as common and they're placed at the beginning of the word. And many of those words are derived from English language. They also change the meaning of the medical terminology, but they're not, like I said, they may not be necessarily present in all the medical words. So they could be a number, time, position, or direction. So let's look at some of the examples here. Hyper means high, like in hypertension, hemiplegia, epidermal, and then postnatal and intercostal. So there are a lot of words. I do not expect you to know all of them, but just please go over all these examples. So 3 steps of defining medical words. Suffix is the important part. Like I said, it could be a condition in pathology or it could be a diagnostic procedure. So make sure that you're defining the suffix first. You can say, Ms. Khan, suffix is the last part of the medical terminology, and you want us to define suffix first? Yes, that is the rule. So just the last part, save the last part, it comes first. It's most important. Then define the first part of the word, which is the word root, the foundation of the word. Then define that because it is just as important too. Or you can end the combining form, which is a vowel or the prefix. And then after that, you will go to the middle part of the word, which would be the word root or combining form again, which is a vowel. CF is the combining form or a vowel. Okay, so O. I'm sorry, I can't annotate really good with this pen, but I will try. This is not my handwriting, but I'm doing my best to play along. So gastritis, more medical words. You can see gaster as what? Come on, let me hear that. Yes, gaster is actually the word root. Itis is what? Prefix? No, itis is a suffix. I know I made that mistake too. So now osteo over here is actually a word root, and arthur is also a word root. So some of the examples you will see have 2 word roots instead of 1. Poly is a prefix, near is a word root, and I will try writing it down for you. Word root, my WNR, and itis is actually a suffix. All right, moving on. See, inflammation of the stomach, gastritis. Osteoarthritis is inflammation of the bone and joint, and polyneuritis would be inflammation of many nerves. So there are 3 rules for building medical words. A word root links a suffix that begins with a vowel. So the example would be mammogram. So mammogram would be the study of breasts. A combining form links a suffix that begins with a consonant, and a combining form links a root to another root to form a compound word, gastrointestinal. So you determine which of the 3 rules for medical building words applies to the following terms: arthritis, gastrointestinal, or hepatocyte. So rule number 1, it links a suffix that begins with a vowel. So you can see it begins with a vowel, that's the suffix. And then gastrointestinal, you can see that is a combining form. Gastro is also a word root, and so is intestine. So they are combined with the combining form. So we have a compound word root, and it is linked by a suffix that also begins with a vowel. Hepatocyte is another rule where a combining form links a suffix that begins with a consonant. So that would be hepatocyte. This is the easiest rule. I like this one. So just make sure that you're reading your text. This is one of the tips. And then pronunciation guidelines. They're also in the front cover of your textbook. And you will have some practices, critical listening exercises. So hopefully that will help you. Alrighty. I'll see you again. Ciao.